Good morning, friends. This is the third Sunday after Trinity, with the intent of God as ruler of the angels. So this Sunday we think about the angels, we think about their actions and involvement in our life, and then we think about God's will being directed through the angels. This is a very interesting concept, and we've got two very interesting stories to relate to us how it's happened in the recorded history of the Bible. But there's many other instances of the angels being involved with us. But here we have two records, at least two records in the Bible. The collect indicates how this particular aspect of God's will operates, particularly through the angels. O God, the King of angels, ruler of all the hosts of heaven, we praise and thank thee for the help. Understand this is help for us, which these radiant servants, that's the angels, so joyously do render unto us, joyously render unto us, and pray that we may pattern after them in purity and zeal. So these angels are bright entities in this collect, and they proceed with joy, purity, and zeal. It's quite a package, isn't it? Quite a package of influence in our life. The first record in the Bible that we refer to today, in our lesson today, is from the Book of Tobit. This is an Old Testament book. And here we have Tobit, the story of Tobit the father, who is blind. And his son Tobias is sent off by his father to find some hidden treasure. While the son travels, he is joined by a helper who becomes a servant, a very useful person, as it turns out. And this person, this servant, adopted by Tobias, helps Tobias find the treasure. At the same time, he comes across a lady called Sarah, who's possessed by a demon. And the friend, the helper, assists with getting rid of the demon from Sarah. Now, it's quite a romantic story, because Tobias then falls in love with Sarah and they get married. They then return to the father. Tobias, blind, doesn't know what's going on in front of him, greets his son and says, basically, how did you get on? And his son said, well, I got on very well thanks to this servant who's been working with us. And by the way, father, here's your new daughter-in-law. So that's very nice. Tobias then says, well, make sure that you reward the servant. Oh yes, says Tobias, I'm going to give him the fraction that I promised to give him if he'll help me. No, says Tobit, give him at least half. And at that point, the servant reveals himself as the angel, an archangel. And the three in the story, Tobit, Tobias, and Sarah, are amazed, and they are what we might call just completely flummoxed. The archangel says to them, don't become overwhelmed because of me. The Father sent me, and I am pleased to do the Father's bidding under all circumstances. And because you are upright and do the Father's will, I'm very pleased to help you. And so it's all ended very well. So I'm summarizing the story, but just putting it into modern terms. What are the key points? The humans in the story didn't recognize that this was an archangel. They're very grateful for the help, which appeared to be rather sort of miraculous, which of course it was. Part of the will of God to help these people. Now, let's move on to the gospel story. Maybe slightly more modern compared to that. That might have been, say, 300 years before the Christian era. Now, this is the record in the New Testament. Zacharias, married to Elizabeth, been praying for many years for a child in their marriage. Without success. Zacharias has an ordained job at the temple to look after the incense. He goes into the temple, starts the process of lighting the incense, and an archangel appears to him. And the archangel says, Zacharias, your prayer has been heard by the Father, and your wish will be granted. And Zacharias is sort of a little bit argumentative. Well, not a little bit argumentative, but he's just got a little bit of lip up, we would say, in modern terms. And he says, well, how's that going to happen? My wife is very old. And Gabriel, the archangel, bringing the news, Gabriel is the archangel that brings us information, says, well, the Father can do actually anything. So don't put up obstacles. You've been praying for this for a long time. Don't start getting awkward about it. And by the way, if we are going to have a little bit of a tense moment here, I'm paraphrasing, you will be struck dumb until the birth of the child. And when the child is born, you will call him John. At that point, Zacharias is struck dumb. Comes out in front of the people, and they are amazed. He can't speak. What was going on back there? Something must have been going on. He writes on a slate, I can't speak. And so everybody talks about this. Elizabeth becomes pregnant. She withdraws into the country. And at the appropriate time, the son is born, brought back to the temple by the family for the priest to bless the child. The priest says, well, what name will we give this child? Some name in your family? And Elizabeth says, his name is to be John. She says, well, that's not in your family name. Why are you doing this? Zacharias gets a slate and writes John on it, very forcefully. And the priest says, okay, fine. John. He'll be John to us. At that point, Zacharias can speak. The restriction on his voice has been lifted, and everyone's amazed. He can talk. And he talks about the archangel and the visitation of Gabriel. These two events show a little bit about how the archangels operate. So we might be just a little bit too proud in the 21st century to think such a thing happens. But we know that expression in English, the kindness of strangers. All of us have experienced it in some way. I think when this happens, you should at least be open to the idea that for you and for us and for all of us, it could just as well be a visitation of an angel directed by the Father to assist us. And so we should be gracious and accept it in that light. So let's recall what this is all about. This is an extraordinary aspect of life which we don't really think about with all our modern appliances and inventions. It was something that had immediate impact on the life of the people in the Old and the New Testament. It should have a great influence and impact on us in the 21st century if we're open to it, if we're looking for it. if we request it. So, friends, this week, I ask you to think about this intent. God as ruler of the angels, interacting with us as co-creators with God. Think on these things this week. Meditate on them. And just open yourself to the concept that such a thing can occur in yours and my life.